It's scary.
Now, is that full screen for you guys?
Yep.
Yes. Great.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. We'll just wait a couple of moments for everyone to join. Okay, I guess it's past 2 p.m. now, New Zealand time. Welcome, my name's Alice. I work at Link 4, and this webinar is specifically for New Zealand government agencies looking to implement e-invoicing. And today we have Mark from the NBIE, Paul from Technology One, and Robin from Link 4. So, just a bit of housekeeping. We are recording this webinar, so you can request to view it afterwards. And you do have the opportunities to ask questions. So you should find the Q&A box up the top of your screen. And we will have a Q&A session at the end. And just in terms of today's agenda, so Mark will be talking about the e-invoicing target information and current and future uptake plans. Paul will then talk about the process flow, and then Robin will talk about the Treasury Australia, and he'll talk about that as a case study and just Link 4 in general and how we can help you. Okay, so without further ado, Mark, would you like to take it away?
Okay, thanks. I will. Okay, I'm trying to share my screen now. Hopefully everyone can see that. Tēnā koutou katoa. Hi, I'm Mark Rusbicki. I'm the General Manager of e-invoicing at the Ministry of Business Innovation and Employment, and I'm going to talk to you about e-invoicing and the New Zealand government. Okay. First, to get right into it, targets have been set for central government agencies to meet about e-invoicing, and these targets have been agreed to by the ministers of those agencies. And the first target is that they need to be receive capable by the end of March 2022, and then some invoice volume targets kick in. You want 10% of your invoices to be e-invoices by 2023, by July 2023, 20% by July 2024, and 90% by July 2026. Some comments on some feedback we've had on these. These are ambitious targets. And well, our minister, who's Minister Nash, doesn't believe these are very ambitious targets at all. So that's his view of it. Just a quick view of what e-invoicing is and why it's important. Really, invoicing is about reducing complexity, simplifying things, and it does that through having maintaining the data structure of the invoice and doing that in a standardized way. And the standard we choose is PEPL, which came out of Europe, but is now going across the globe. And the development of that standard has been a trans-Tasman effort with the Australian Taxation Office, which has been a really great collaboration with them. And we're really proud of that trans-Tasman initiative. So when you create an invoice in a normal way, and the originator, the sender system has all the data structure. It knows exactly what everything is in terms of the system, what the invoice number is, what the amounts are, the line items, and then what you generally you create an image, a PDF, and you take all that structure out. You send it to the buyer, to the receiver, and they have to somehow put all that structure back in. And someone, a colleague of mine, the invoicing team, was likened that to someone who types a very nice Word document and then prints it out and screws it up into a ball and throws it at the person that it's the recipient, which is really very good. And what e-invoicing is trying to do is just maintain that data structure throughout that whole process. Why do e-invoicing? What are the benefits? One thing is you connect once, connect to all. So if you are connected to the PEPL network, you should, in theory, be able to send and receive e-invoices from anyone else on the PEPL network, just equivalent to email, internet-based email. A big advantage, particularly for buyers, is the reduced processing costs. It just takes less time to process an invoice, and we've had estimates done, and it's the savings is somewhere between $10 and $20 on average per invoice. And when you think there's close to 300 million invoices that go through business-to-business invoices that go through the New Zealand economy every year, there's a significant productivity gain in when the numbers are so large. Also, it's direct and secure. So the information is the invoice information is going direct from the supplier, the sender's finance system, directly into the buyer's finance system, and that is happening through a secure network. The PEPL network is based on AS4. It's fully encrypted. It's very secure, much more secure than sending a PDF attached to an email. Also, because e-invoicing is a near real-time network that and it's fully digital. When the invoice is sent, when it's received, what point it is in the process. It's easy to digitally track that and report. So you get a improved financial visibility of you get approved of your where the invoice is and where the money's going and coming from. Also, a big thing for us is faster payment. Our minister is quite big on faster payment. E-invoicing can enable faster payment. It doesn't necessarily guarantee faster payment. If someone doesn't approve the payment, it's just not going to happen, no matter how digital you are. But in the words of Minister Nash, he says, well, now with e-invoicing, there are no excuses. Also, so we really believe that e-invoicing is a key tool for government agencies to efficiently meet the target of paying 95% of invoices in 10 days. That was set last year. How can the MB invoicing team help you? Well, one thing is we have established an e-invoicing open syndicated contract, and Link 4 is one of the panel members on that agreement. And the goal of that agreement is about making it as simple as possible for government entities to procure e-invoicing services. For the contracts for the 4 panel members, from the legal and contractual side, they're all identical. And the only differences are based on the service offerings and the price. So you look if the vendor has the services you want and at a price you like, then away you go. So it's really to try and simplify that purchasing process, and you don't have to go through a long RFP process or anything like that. We've done that for you. We have assessment tools, communication tools. We provide lots of workshops and webinars. We participate in webinars like this one to promote invoicing. We have a lot of skills where we can help you plan, look at your business processes, understand how you can implement e-invoicing and what's the best pathway for you to do that. There's a website, e-invoicing.gov.nz. There's lots of good information on that, including cool videos. And you can contact us as e-invoicing. There's an email there, invoicing@mb.gov.nz, and you can contact me directly if you want. And because we're from the e-invoicing team, and we're here to help. This is the full list of accredited e-invoicing access point providers in New Zealand. There's 23 have gone through the process to be fully PEPL enabled, as because MB is the New Zealand PEPL Authority, and those 4 are the members of the Open Syndicated Agreement panel, and obviously Link 4 is one of them, which is great. And so you can engage with them and who's the best service provider for you. The critical success factors. What do you really need to look at it? How do you need to make sure that e-invoicing can be a success for your organization? One thing that's really important is understanding the flow of an invoice, how it comes out of a supplier and gets into your system, and what are the steps that it has to go through. And the one thing else that we think we've learned through, particularly through MB's implementation and the other agencies and organizations we work through, is get your suppliers involved as early as possible. It's a really good idea to get friendly suppliers who maybe are willing to experiment to some degree, so that you can build up a model of how e-invoicing can work for your suppliers with those friendly suppliers, and then you can advertise that model to all your suppliers and get them all doing it. How you adopt really does depend on your strategy and how sophisticated and you want to take your procure to pay or even order to cash process. You might have quite a sophisticated, ambitious strategy for doing that, and then e-invoicing is just like the first element. Or you may have in a smaller organization, your process can be quite simple, and all these things influence how you're going to implement e-invoicing, how you're going to achieve the benefits. Also, e-invoicing is it does provide an opportunity to improve your current process. Automating bad processes is just not a good idea. So you should have a good look at what your process is and understand where it can be improved, and where you can use e-invoicing as a tool to help you improve that, and then you'll achieve the greater benefits. Also work with your service providers. Link 4. Generally, the service providers are quite a clever bunch. And you can look at what functionality can be provided, what's the capability of e-invoicing and your systems, along with what the service providers can do, and look at how do you best utilize that functionality and integrate that into your processes, so you can really achieve the full benefit of e-invoicing. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is just that e-invoicing is really the first stage of a whole suite of services that fall under the PEPL banner. PEPL has standards for lots of things in the e-procurement suite. Invoice response, where you can get the status of an invoice. Purchase order, those two, purchase order, invoice response, are things that we're actively looking at now. How do we bring those? The standards exist in PEPL. How do we bring those and make them available in Australia and New Zealand? Another one's order response, catalogs, dispatch advice. All these things are part of the PEPL suite of services available, and you need to look at how, will you utilize them? Does your organization need them, and does your agency need them, and how you evolve into that, and that needs to be part of your invoice strategy. That's me, and I think that was less than 10 minutes.
Great, thank you. All right. Great. Paul, would you like to start?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Alice, and thanks, Mark. That was a great introduction. Let me just share my screen. Okay, welcome everybody. My name's Paul Peterson. I'm the R&D Director for Financials product at Technology One, and my background comes from financial services, and I've also worked with many ERP systems in the past as technology vendor, as well as being involved in a lot of industry initiatives, including things like superannuation changes and stuff that have happened in the Australian and other markets across the world. And now involved in looking at e-invoicing, and certainly how e-invoicing can make your systems more efficient. So today I thought I'd just run you through Mark's already given you a very good introduction into how you might think about starting the plan of looking at your processes and how you want to transform them. And I guess what I wanted to do is talk through the path to success. What do you need to think about there? And certainly with the customers that we're working with now, we're finding various things are coming out, learnings that we can do and pass on to the next people who are getting involved. So those early adopters are kind of setting the path. Have a quick look at what current invoicing might look like today for you and your systems, what new invoicing might look like, and what's really going to make this processing, how you're really going to get the benefits and I guess the efficiencies and that value proposition out of it, not just for yourself within your day-to-day life as a person using an ERP system and dealing with your suppliers and your customers, but also how your team is going to work and how your agency as a self is going to work. And then we'll talk a little bit, I'll show you what some of the actionable analytics might look like. Mark's talked a lot about the benefits, so I'll probably skip them pretty quickly. And of course, next steps, getting ready for e-invoicing. So if we have a think about transforming your business, at least here at Tech One, we cover a lot of different industries, and we're finding as we're working with customers across those industries that the needs and the kind of the outcomes and benefits they're trying to achieve are relatively broad scale and change, but they share commonality across different industries. And as Mark's already pointed out, Link 4, for example, Robin and his team, MVIE, the ATO, ourselves at Tech One, and industry players like your suppliers systems like Xero and that are all working in a working group to actually come up with best practices, not only for government but across all of these industries. So what we really want to do is make sure that together we're working so that we can come up with not just standards, but the approach and the best practices that we can learn from those early adopters and using the systems across one or many industries, and actually apply that to you and your particular agency and situation. So what we've found with with the agencies that are early on board and starting to get into e-invoicing, and certainly Robin won't steal any of his thunder in regarding the case study for ATO. But what we are really finding is, though, they're kind of a bit like COVID. They're kind of looking at themselves, seeing there's this demand or need to actually move, and they're reassessing their situation at the start and saying, well, we kind of really have to go hard and fast, and that's the best approach. And certainly, well, at least in Australia and Queensland, that's worked for us with COVID. So e-invoicing, if you kind of take that mentality and then say, well, we're going to look at how we're currently doing things and how others within the industry in other government agencies are working, collaborate on that and get the learnings and understanding, apply it to your situation, and then see how you can get there for base one. But then 6 to 12 months you might come back and review how you're going with your e-invoicing initiative, and then iterate and improve upon it. So if we're thinking about transforming, what might you need to do? Obviously, today we're in a very digital world, and what we're finding is, and with COVID for that matter, there's been a very big drive to get online to SaaS platforms. And what do SaaS platforms give you? They kind of give you that secure, reliable, you can get access anywhere, anytime. But for e-invoicing, what that really means is if you and your suppliers and partners are all using, SaaS-enabled platforms that can interconnect between each other, then you can get a whole end-to-end effect that is much better than just if one party, for example, is not as sophisticated or is still learning to be more sophisticated within the market. A good example of that with us, we've seen in local government, is local government often has to use suppliers in markets that are, may have small businesses and that, small business suppliers, and they're not always ready and using technology to the best advantage. So they might be using old styles of integration, or for that matter, no integration, sending paper in. So we want to kind of get to that base capability to be able to interconnect systems together. Then if you have a think about e-invoicing, and Mark's touched on this and really explained this well, what you need to do is have a look, well, the current business processes that you're doing now with maybe scanning providers and with paper really aren't going to give you the full benefit that you need. So what you're really looking to do is have a look at your business process, and that is the procure to pay process, and see what's the solution that you can improve the actual process through that. So a simple example that we've had with some of our customers in the government area is for those that do primarily contract-based agreements, a lot of the times they get invoices in that maybe don't have the reference for the contract. Well, under the new standards in the invoicing, you can kind of, help to guarantee that that's going to happen. And you could actually come up with, look at your process and say, well, no, I'm going to mandate that to get the efficiencies throughout my business and be able to automate the matching and downstream processing of invoices, then we absolutely have to get that contract reference number, rather than maybe being a little bit, polite at the moment and going, well, if there's a problem, I'll ring up the supplier and just say which contract are you referring to, if there was multiple, so if there is a different version or something like that. So having a look at your business process and working out how you can improve it moving forward, that's a big part of the job. And it's something that we find takes the longer amount of time, and it requires some decision and thinking. And of course, everybody on this call are, been working in this space. And so we can help and give guidance on how you might approach that. And certainly you want your solutional systems to out of the box have starting points for you to have streamlined business processes. But these days, when you're actually doing things manually and you want to automate things, you really have to take that really, smart knowledge that you've got inside of people's head and see if you can systematize it, I guess. And so what you need is the tools and technology that allows you to literally automate that stuff. And so at least at TechOne, what we've done over the last 5 years since we've been starting with, financial automated processing, and especially with e-invoicing initiative across Australia and New Zealand, is building a rules engine that will actually allow you to have powerful capabilities so you can put your business rules and your automation concepts into the system and then workflow it through without hands-on, or devolve to the users when you need a decision made or approval to be made. And then look, all this stuff is going to work if you can see and understand what's going on across your business, and you can see that you're actually making improvement with your change in business process, and that you're getting those actual value benefits out of the back. And that will really bring digital success. So when we're talking about e-invoicing, pathway to success, we're really talking about evolving, what we do in our day-to-day business, and thinking about what we do and how we can improve, how e-invoice can help us, how our business processes across our agencies and teams work, our systems, our services. It's no good if we can interact with our suppliers, but our suppliers aren't ready to do e-invoicing. How can we support those suppliers to become more ready? And of course, the benefit at the end of the day is the whole entire result that we get with the outcome of not only making our industry efficient and the whole industry efficient, but also our business or agencies more efficient. So if we have a look at invoicing process flow today, on the left-hand side at the top of the line, you can see you'll have your supplier and they often provide paper or PDF, and you go through a scanning process or a stage of transforming that into a fashion that you get into your system so you can actually do your invoice processing. And that actually has a lot of inefficiency in it because there's a lot of validation and problems that can occur with scanning. And there's differences between different suppliers and the way they interact with you. So part of analyzing this, and certainly PEPL and the standards help, is that we want to, take that step out of the process, and we want to put in, a facility that's going to make that better. So staying at the top of the line, then once you get the invoice into your system, you do some validation. So you want to make sure it's not a duplicate invoice. You want to make sure that it's got the correct dates, not future dated, that it's matching up with one of your contracts or your purchase orders. And then you can get approvals if required for that invoice, do your goods receiving and get it through. And so when you have to resolve exceptions, you may circle around internally trying to get that sorted out. And you might also have to go back to the supplier. So we want to kind of get to a point where we can take those manual processes and really drive to get them more efficient and automated. And today, in our software at least, we have CI Anywhere. And what we've added down the bottom here is, instead of doing some of these manual processes and that, you can use what we call the intelligent invoice processing engine. And that will work on the back of the receiving the invoices, so you can quickly pay your suppliers within 5 days. So that's kind of the way the process works, and you can enhance it now. But with e-invoicing, obviously, what we want to do is cut out the kind of validation and additional manual steps. And so we really want the supplier to be providing us with this good, clean, standardized invoice that already has the contract or the purchase order number on it, so that we can quickly pick it up and do it. And to do that, we need a service provider that's going to be accredited and can interact and work with you and your suppliers, such as Link4. And we want that actual e-invoice to come straight into the system, like the Tech1 CI Anywhere system, so it can be using that intelligent engine to quickly process that e-invoice, and if possibly, automate right through to the point at which you can pay. And you want to do that within 5 days. So with the process flow, a large part of this isn't just about internally how you're doing your business processes inside your ERP systems. It's also working with the service providers to make sure that the suppliers are enabled and that we can do an end-to-end process to get that payment done quickly. And certainly in Australia, we need to be able to pay that quickly. Now there's payment times reporting coming in, which is legislation to say you need to report on how quickly you're actually making payments to your suppliers, so you're meeting those requirements of time. So let's have a quick look at what the Tech1 CI Anywhere software looks like, and what a rules engine system and that looks at and enables you to do. This is just a quick screenshot for an accounts payable person that might be setting this up in our system. And out of the box, we already provide a whole bunch of rules that do duplicate checking, allow you to classify and identify the type of invoice that's coming in, whether it's related to contracts, so you can do contract matching. We can validate dates to make sure it's not a suspicious transaction, for example, or that you're not getting a duplicate that might be similar to another invoice, but they've just resent it because their systems aren't clever enough to know that, if things are being sent once, they might accidentally resend it if they're making an amendment. You can identify all your suppliers, so you can quickly look them up and see that they're valid, so you can meet any, compliance to make sure there's nothing happening there. So out of the system, our system already comes pre-configured with a whole bunch of rules and pre-existing business process that'll get you started very quickly. It's also pre-enabled for people like service providers like Link4, who have already tested with our system, to come in and just automatically connect to it. So there's little time required to get up and going. And no doubt Robin will talk to that with the ATO case study. So when you're now working in an e-invoicing world, you really just expect the invoices to come in, and then really what we're looking at here is an indication of which ones might be indicated as duplicates, ones that are taking greater than 30 days or a time frame that you've specified to process them in. You can look at all the purchasing goods receipt and status of the processing of how it's going through the process and whether it's completed. And in the actual system itself, it'll show you the full status and how you can go through, and it'll automate as many of those processes using workflow for you. So it's great, that you can receive your invoices, you've, gone through and improved your business processes, but you really want to see that that's being streamlined. So this is just one of the analytics dashboards that you can have a look at to actually see the amount of time on average things are taking, what sort of suppliers you're getting the most transactions from. You can look at the, where you might target improvements in the e-invoices and your AP automation. You can see how many are going through automatically, say, for example, and which ones, maybe there's something you can do in terms of rules processing to improve that automation and efficiency. So you can start kind of slow and quick, and then you can build up and iterate so that you can get that efficiency out of the system. This is a quick view of our way in which you can look at all your supplier contracts. So you can look at your purchase orders as well. So you can see, the financial position of what's going on, where your status with those particular suppliers on, who are the guys that, you need to probably work with to improve the end-to-end process. And of course, also you need to have a look at your, spending and where that's going, and, how that's going in relation to your budgets, etc. That's a quick look at what the system looks like. So if you've gone and you've got the latest software that enables you to use invoicing, and out of the box you can start and get going, you've reviewed your business processes and talked to other people about how to get those efficiencies, and we can help you with that along with everybody on this panel, then you're going to get those time savings and money savings in e-invoicing. But I think at the moment, it's e-invoicing, as Mark pointed out, is only a tip of the iceberg. And to really get the benefit, you need to look at the end-to-end process for the whole entire procure to pay process. And by getting efficiencies through that chain, you'll actually recognize what you want to do. So how do you get ready for invoicing? When you're working with us at Tech One, then we help you to start planning, and hopefully you're all planning now. We help you to understand how you can get onto the SaaS platform. You can upgrade and adopt the latest technology. You can look at your business processes and how to automate them. And you can work with us and service providers like Link4 so that we can look at that end-to-end process, see where the suppliers that you're working with are, look to onboard them, and of course educate them on how they can interact with you so that they can get paid quicker and you can get the efficiencies you need out of the market. So if you're already existing Tech One customer, then now's the time to talk to your account manager. We've got, along with all the great materials that Mark's shown, we've also got e-invoicing website that shows you exactly what you need to do to get ready. And of course, we need to get cracking because there's not much time left to do that. So hopefully that's given you a quick insight into some of the things that you can consider and what you can do with the systems of today to actually get yourself transforming and making your life simple going forward. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right, thanks for that, Paul. Robin, take it away.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we are going to talk about the case study with the Australian Department of the Treasury. They are Technology One users and they are doing e-invoicing. But before we do that, I just want to introduce you to Aaron. So Aaron is a small business owner. He owns a restaurant actually, and he's renovated his restaurant. He's received an invoice from his builder for $40,000 for the renovations. It was exactly what he wanted, so he paid the invoice. problem was the builder never saw the payment. And that was because they became victims to a payment redirection scam. So payment redirection scams are where the email is intercepted, bank details are changed on a PDF, and the funds get sent to the wrong person. This was the biggest scam that affected small businesses in 2020, and statistics show that's 5 times worse in 2021. The reason we're talking about this now is because e-invoicing wasn't created for government mandates or government departments, but it was designed to help small businesses. And in fact, that was something that Treasury kept in mind when they were doing e-invoicing, is because they were trying not just to meet the government mandates, but to support those small businesses. And that's just one of the threats that they help with. Now, Link 4 has had we obviously do support government e-invoicing. We've had some good success. We are the most popular e-invoicing service provider in Australia. Some of our customers are mentioned on the screen here, but we don't have the time to go through and talk about them today. But interesting to note that the Treasury signed up in September last year. So they've actually come around almost to their full 12 months on their contract. They've now extended their contract, which kind of shows they're happy, I'm hoping. But what's key about that is they signed up more than 6 months before the mandate was in place. And that was because they wanted to help small business. So if they can make life easier for small business, then that is a good thing. So what were they looking for? When they were looking to do e-invoicing, Treasury wanted to work with a certified access point. So MBIE has gone through a process and made sure that there are access points that meet all the standards that you can trust and work with. And that's key to be able to picking a good access point. The Treasury also used Technology One, CI Anywhere. So obviously they needed an access point to clip on the front of that to be able to connect them to the network. Other things, of course, included, good pricing, make sure it's secure, and they wanted it to be delivered within 4 weeks. They didn't want a long implementation, and that was fine. That was something we could do. And supplier onboarding was important to them. Now, this comes back to talking about Aaron in the beginning. There's a lot of small businesses out there that will benefit from e-invoicing, but only if they hear about it, only if they can connect and start doing it. And so that's a key thing of not just building e-invoicing and meeting the standards, but communicating to them that you've got e-invoicing and that you're ready to go. So yeah, I stole this from one of the MB presentations I saw recently, that there is a communication strategy in place. There is some really good supporting materials that you can talk to your suppliers and let them know it's coming. Now, in this table here, it talks about even up to 8 months in advance, letting them know that it's coming. I don't think you've got 8 months really now to do that, but that's 8 months from understanding of when you will go live. So you need to be talking to access point providers like ourselves. You need to be talking to Paul at Technology One to make sure that you've got a go live date, and then step back from that and start communicating that out to your suppliers so they know it's coming. And I tell you, there's a lot of them that are looking forward to it. And you might be thinking, oh, government need to be live by March next year. There's already hundreds of businesses in New Zealand that we are servicing with e-invoicing actively now. So there are businesses doing it. And these cloud accounting systems that are mentioned in the blue section at the top are what a lot of small businesses are using. And these are connected to e-invoicing, that any of those users can get online and sign up, and within 2 minutes are active on the e-invoicing network. So it's simple for them to do it, and you can be connected. Obviously, the ones in the bottom are ERP systems that take an implementation and can take a bit longer, but they are also still on the network and being connected. So for the Treasury implementation, one of the important things for them too was to make sure that it was seamless. User experience for the suppliers, and that doesn't get affected, but also internally just to make sure that it works well with Technology One. So for that aspect, it is, people may say, oh, Technology One will do my e-invoicing, I don't need an access point. it's not exactly the case, because it's like the phone network. You might have a great phone, but you need a network provider to connect you to the network. That's what we do. We connect you to the network, but Technology One does all that cool stuff with your invoice and does the validation, etc. So it still needs to be connected. Once connected, you need to test it. Check all the scenarios, make sure it's working. It's not just a matter of being live. It needs extensive testing. There's dashboards that you can get to show, how things are going through with e-invoicing or not, and whether that's a part of your current situation that can be addressed by your ERP system, or if you want to use Link4s. There's also training. Now, an interesting point here, by the way, some people will go, we'll do e-invoicing after we've upgraded with Technology One. But one thing that we've found that works really well, working with Technology One recently, is combining them both. So instead of having an upgraded Technology One and getting trained on that, then doing e-invoicing and then getting trained on that, it's actually do them together, side by side, getting the same training happening at the one time. Makes it easy for the end user. Timely, obviously being able to get it in within time. As you get closer to the mandate date, there will be a time pressure on who can implement and what training can be done, etc. for that. So these things need to be scheduled. They need to be booked in. So the sooner you're talking to providers, the sooner you can actually plan that schedule. And talking to providers, by the way, right now, doesn't mean signing contracts right now and making sure you're locked in. It's a matter of planning it and making sure that you can meet that time frame and get that set up. As I said, Treasury before, they went live by December 2020, even though the mandate was June 30, 2021. So they wanted to make sure that they were able to be out there and supporting small business. They also had the ability, and it's not on here, but the onboarding of SMEs. There's other government departments that are not meeting the onboarding requirements. Now, obviously in New Zealand, you're mandated for that, so you're going to have to meet them. Treasury, and we're not mandated for it, but they actually actively work to get their suppliers on board because they saw the benefits to it, and that was a really good thing. Anyway, we've got a written case study if you'd like to read about it. So just email me or email Alice and we can get you a copy of that case study. So that's just touching on the e-invoicing with the Treasury from me. Back to you, Alice.
Great, thanks, Robin. So we're just going to look at the Q&A now. We've got a few questions that came in before. Right, so this one's from Louise for Paul. Great to see e-invoicing integrated within Tech One. What are the plans to include other PEPAL messages such as purchase orders?
Yep. Hi. Thanks for asking the question, Louise. Tech One's planning on doing progressive, improvements to the system so that we can cover the whole PEPAL range of messaging. So at the moment, if you're a Tech One customer, you're aware that you can already use EDI. So typically with suppliers, you'll be using EDI to do that. So PEPAL is a new standard that's slightly different to EDI. So we'll be looking to extend our capabilities that we're doing for e-invoicing now, to also go out to those other messages as well, like purchase orders, advanced shipping notices, and everything else. So that's really about us, getting through doing each of those messages in the PEPAL standard. And I'm part of the PEPAL standards organisations looking at how those standards are evolving and being harmonised across the globe so that we have interoperability and ease of processing for, say, your global suppliers coming across the world into you. So yes, there is plans.
Great. Next one, we are planning to upgrade to the CI Anywhere software. Do you have to wait for the upgrade to implement e-invoicing?
I think there's probably two parts to that. Certainly, you need to be on one of the e-invoicing enabled versions of our software of CI Anywhere. Really, the minimum starting point now is what we call the 2021A release. It would be even better if you're on the 2020B release, because it includes additional messages like e-invoice responses back to your suppliers. And we're adding the sending of the invoices as well to the system. So you kind of need to try to get on the latest. You can get on the latest software, but not be using it yet, or have fully configured it or have it ready. It certainly doesn't stop you working with and getting a service supplier like Link4, so you can already start on that. And what we suggest is you actually start on the process of looking at your business processes, and you can usually, we can set up within a small amount of time a test system for you to start having a look at how you would configure and work your business processes and end-to-end plan for what you need to do once you get fully ready and up to that version. So you can start early in a separate environment, and then you can work on your plans to get up to the latest environment so you can be ready.
Great. What if you do not use purchase orders and or contracts as the validation?
Okay, so I might try to clarify the question. So certainly some government departments use contracts, and they do most of their business with their suppliers with a contract. So they would expect an invoice to come in against that contract. Some government agencies also use purchase orders, so they do a requisitioning process. But there is certain government agencies, I know NBIU is one, they tend to use more like different department indicators and that. So those references that can come on the e-invoice can be looked up in your accounts to find the supplier and then do the matching. So you don't need to necessarily have a purchase order or a contract number. You can just have a reference number or an indicator like cost center or department to be looked up.
Great.
Yeah.
And this one's probably for Mark. There's an open syndicated agreement. How does that help?
How does the open syndicated agreement help?
Yes.
That was the question is, well, it's the goal of that agreement is to just simplify the procurement process to procure a e-invoicing service provider. Like I said in the presentation, there's four organizations on the panel. Link4 is one of them, and you don't have to go through a full RFP process. You can, as a government entity, you can just look at those four and see if they provide you with the services you need at a price you like, and sign them up. So it just greatly simplifies the purchasing of the services.
And what are the steps for suppliers to become e-invoice ready if using MoneyWorks or Xero?
I can take that one. So if they're easy ones, actually, they're cloud accounting systems, so they can easily just log on, say, to somebody like Link4, create an account. And once they create the account, as a part of that process, they connect their accounting system, and they're actually enabled on the e-invoicing network. So MoneyWorks have done a really good job in their latest version because they've embedded e-invoicing within MoneyWorks. And so you can do that from within MoneyWorks and then connect onto the network. So it's just a couple of minutes for cloud accounting users like that.
Yep, and just note, Xero has just recently launched the capability to add a number of fields, which we refer to as the best practice fields. There's a new invoice. If you look at Xero, it's called has a new way of invoicing, and you can get all sorts of references like purchase order and contract numbers, project numbers. There's a whole number of things that now that suppliers can provide to larger buyers through Xero.
Great. This one looks like it's for Paul again. What validation can the service provider undertake to ensure the information received by Tech1 is a valid code, e.g. contract number or cost center?
Yeah, so when the invoice comes into the system, the first thing we look at is what sort of reference identifiers they've sent through to us. So when that comes in, we can look up the supplier and see if they have contracts with you or potentially purchase orders. So we're using that reference number or cost center to identify how you want to then do the workflow to process that. So in the case of a contract, we'll look up that contract well, after validating it's a supplier that we expect to get something from, and we can look up the contract and see if the reference number matches to that contract. Then we can start the contract matching process.
Great. And this question was, can you assist with onboarding suppliers? But I think we've already answered that one, Robin. This one is, what is the time frame for implementation? That's probably you, Robin.
Like implementation from e-invoicing, actually we did touch on that we said 4 weeks for Treasury. That was actually their request or requirement for 4 weeks. Because we've done a few Technology One implementations now, we actually can do that much shorter. And so as long as everyone's available, testing happens, 2 weeks, we can get all that wrapped up. We can actually do it faster, but talk to us directly or through Technology One, and we can actually give a definite timeline on doing that.
Yep. This one's from Mark. How do I know who is ready for e-invoicing?
Ready in the sense of able to send or able to receive?
Both, I think.
Well, I guess able to receive is simpler because the receivers are registered in the PEPL directory, so you can actually look them up. As things progress, when zero MYOB and these other systems become send capable, then that will be listed there. Zero is now, MYOB is now, and there's a number of other systems we have listed on the e-invoicing website. Those software providers that are it has both send and receive, send only and receive only. So you can look at that list for the capabilities of those providers. Tech One is on there. So
great. And I think I'll combine this question. So Jason's asked, what is defined as receive for an e-invoice? And then the other question is Tech One able to send, or are they send and receive capable, or do they need another solution?
Okay, well, the definition of receive an invoice is typically when if you're receiving from a supplier an invoice, then receive ready just means that you can accept that electronic invoice in the PEPL standard. So that's exactly what you can get out of the box with the e-invoicing adapter. And once you've got a service provider like Link4, we can just connect you up and away you go. So receiving e-invoices is there now. What we've just finished is what's called the ability to send a response message. So that is, once you receive the invoice, then you can acknowledge back to the supplier that you've not only received it, but processed it. Looks good for downstream processing. You can indicate that you're going to pay it and then that you've paid it. So you can send responses back out for invoices that you've received or credit notes that you've received in. We're currently working on doing the outbound sending of electronic invoices. So that's the AR, accounts receivable side of the invoices. So that's work in progress for the next release.
Great. I think that's most of the questions, and I think we're way over time. So if anyone else has any of the panelists have anything to add, otherwise we'll wrap it up. Robin, Paul, Mark, do you have anything to say?
Just if you have any questions, just reach out, and any questions, anything you want to know, reach out to any of us. But we're here to make this happen.
I'd agree with that. I think what we're learning everybody on the panel here, and we're working together in those working groups on best practices, and that is that sharing knowledge from experiences and helping people with their needs is paramount at this early stage. And then having a look at examples of what other people are doing, and certainly using that as a basis will enable and get you up and going much quicker. So absolutely sing out and just ask any questions, whatever you think you need to know. It is a bit of a steep learning curve, but we can help you to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about it is a key thing. As we say, there's hundreds of small businesses out there already doing it. Looking forward to more and more government departments and other Tech One users starting to do it as well. But we spend a lot of time educating people about what it is. And I think that's the key thing. Just ask questions, we'll help you, we'll talk you through it. It's not too complicated once you start talking through it all.
Great. Just finally as well, if you haven't already, you can download our guide to e-invoicing for government agencies in New Zealand. Just head to our website. And if you do have any questions or you want to get started, great. Speak to Andrew Bennett, our sales manager. His details are on the screen there. Also, feel free to reach out to Robin or myself. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This webinar will be available on demand, so I will send out a link for you, and also we'll try and get the presentation slides available. Okay, great. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
See ya.